Good day, my friends. Let me begin by telling you something I've learned over many years through peaks and valleys, through seasons of great light and moments of darkness. When you focus on your craft, you are honoring the reason you are here. Discover what your craft truly is. Understand your natural gifts, talents, and passions, where your soul feels most alive. You know, one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking their craft is just something they do like a hobby, a job, or a side hustle. But your real craft, your true calling, is something much deeper than that. It's something rooted in who you are. It's the intersection of your natural wiring, your lived experience, and your personal truth. And if you haven't discovered that yet, don't panic. That discovery takes time, and it takes honesty. You've got to slow down and ask yourself some real questions. What do I do that feels effortless but delivers impact? What is it that I keep coming back to, even when no one's watching? What sets my soul on fire but also makes me lose track of time? These aren't surface level questions, they're soul level. You have to be willing to look beneath the noise of life, beneath the expectations placed on you by family, by society, by even your past self. This is where your true craft lives, not in trends, not in what makes quick money, but in the part of you that's been whispering, "This is what I'm made to do," since you were young. Steve Harvey says your gift will make room for you, but it can't do that if you're too busy trying to be someone you're not. When you find your craft, your lane, your groove, you stop competing. You start creating. Because when you finally focus on the thing that's already yours, that's when everything changes. Mastery over perfection, focus on daily improvement and growth, rather than chasing perfection. Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. Perfection is a trap. It's not a standard, it's a distraction. People waste years waiting to feel ready, trying to make every move flawless, trying to impress everybody. But the truth is, you don't grow by being perfect. You grow by being willing to make mistakes, willing to look foolish for a while, willing to take the shot even when your hands are shaking. That's how mastery is built, through movement, not through standing still waiting to get it right. See, people admire greatness, but they don't often study the grind behind it. Every master you look up to, every artist, every entrepreneur, every innovator, they all started messy. But what separated them from the crowd wasn't talent alone. It was obsession with the process. They fell in love with the work, not just the outcome. They studied their craft, broke it down, rebuilt it, failed forward over and over again. Perfection wants you to perform for others. Mastery wants you to transform yourself. The psychology behind this is simple. Your brain is wired for growth, not flawlessness. You build confidence through competence, and you build competence through repetition, not hesitation. So stop asking yourself, "Is this good enough?" and start asking, "Am I getting better?" Because if you chase perfection, you'll stall. But if you chase mastery, you'll evolve. And evolution is what turns potential into power. Create sacred time for practice. Make uninterrupted time for your craft a non-negotiable priority in your life. Here's the real question. How serious are you about what you say you want? Because if your craft actually matters to you, if it's not just talk, not just fantasy, you've got to protect time for it like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your identity, your growth, your fulfillment, they're all tied to whether or not you show up consistently. Now I get it. Life is busy. You've got responsibilities. You've got bills, kids, distractions, pressure. But listen closely. What you don't schedule, you don't respect. And what you don't respect, you eventually lose. Talent that isn't trained turns into frustration. Vision without execution becomes regret. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment to work on your craft, that moment will never come. You've got to make it a priority now, before you feel ready, before it feels easy. This is about psychological discipline. When you create sacred, focused time for your craft, you're telling your mind, this matters. You're shaping your identity through repetition. And over time, your subconscious starts aligning with that reality. That's how habits are built. That's how legacies are built. Steve Harvey once said, "You've got to put something in to get something out." That applies to everything: faith, relationships, money, but especially to your gift. So don't just wait for time to appear. Make it, guard it, invest it. Because when you start treating your craft like a responsibility, not an option, that's when your breakthrough begins. Eliminate the noise, let go of distractions, comparison, and validation seeking. Success blooms in silence. Let's get real for a second. Some of y'all are talented, gifted, and full of potential, but you can't focus long enough to build anything meaningful. And it's not because you're lazy. It's because you're distracted. Constantly, social media, opinions, notifications, comparison, all that noise. It's robbing you blind. It's stealing your clarity, your energy, and most importantly, your time. There's a psychological cost to being always available. Your brain was not designed to handle a million voices at once. And every time you stop what you're doing to check who liked your post or what someone else is achieving, you're training your mind to value stimulation over substance, distraction over discipline. That's how dreams die, not with a bang, but in small, daily compromises of focus. Steve Harvey talks about staying in your lane. That means you can't worry about what everybody else is doing. You can't build your destiny while watching someone else's highlight reel. You've got to mute the noise so you can hear your own rhythm. That rhythm, the one deep inside you, that's where your genius lives. And here's the hard truth. If you don't learn how to say no to the world will say no to your gift. Focus isn't just about productivity. It's about protection. Protecting the seed of your craft before it's strong enough to stand in the spotlight. So cut the noise, stay in your lane, and remember, the deeper your focus, the higher your future. Your craft is your contribution, what you create, and master is your gift to the world. Honor it with discipline. Let me tell you something most people overlook. Your craft is not just for you. It's not just a way to make money or prove a point. It's your contribution to the world. It's the one thing you were given that nobody else can do exactly like you. And when you treat it casually, you're not just wasting talent. You're withholding impact. Every time you write that line, design that product, solve that problem, teach that lesson, what you're really doing is showing up for humanity in your own unique way. That's purpose in motion, but you can't contribute anything valuable if you don't put in the work. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. Talent without discipline is a promise that never gets fulfilled. Steve Harvey says, your gift is the thing you do best with the least amount of effort. But just because it comes naturally doesn't mean it doesn't need work. Even the most gifted people need to refine, polish, and develop. Think about it. No one respects a musician who won't practice. No one takes a chef seriously who doesn't get in the kitchen. So why should your craft be any different? When you commit to mastery, you're not just building a career. You're building something that will outlive you. And that's the goal, to leave the world better than you found it, using what was placed in your hands. So work your craft like it matters, because it does. Your gift is your legacy. Use it wisely. Stay grounded in purpose, not applause let your why drive you, not the need for likes, fame, or instant success. Now here's where a lot of folks get it twisted. They start out doing what they love, but somewhere along the way, they start chasing applause instead of purpose. They start performing instead of producing. They lose sight of the mission because they're too focused on the reaction. And let me tell you, that's a dangerous game, because when your identity is tied to applause, you'll only feel valuable when people are clapping. But purpose will wake you up when nobody's cheering. Purpose will have you grinding in silence when the world ain't paying attention. And that's where real fulfillment lives. See, when you focus on your why, the how gets stronger. When you're rooted in something deeper than likes or validation, your work carries weight. You're no longer just building something for today. You're building something that lasts. Steve Harvey says, you've got to have vision. You've got to know why you're doing it. Because when things get hard, and they will, it's not the compliments that keep you going, it's the calling. That inner pull that says, I was made for this. That's what makes your craft sustainable. That's what keeps you grounded when the storms come. So stop trying to impress people who don't even understand your assignment. Stay true to the reason you started. Because when your craft is driven by purpose, not praise, you don't just create success, you create legacy. And here's the truth. Applause fades. Purpose endures. Choose wisely.